Hello all. Um, yes, a bit of a response to Brian, Embryonic Robot. Always enjoy his videos. He was responding to somebody else's uh, ranking of Pink Floyd top three albums. Now, I have a bit of a issue with Pink Floyd in that I was a huge fan of Pink Floyd before Dark Side of the Moon, and it's pretty hard to find anybody that could sort of appreciate Pink Floyd before Dark Side of the Moon. They were considered unlistenable, and I suppose to those that grew up after Dark Side of the Moon would find most of their output before Dark Side of the Moon to be unlistenable. But I'm the opposite. As I explained in a comment on Brian's channel, that I was at that peak age, 18, 19, when I could finally afford to buy Pink Floyd records. I started work at 17 in 1968, and albums were very expensive. And I was aware of Pink Floyd, of course. They had hit singles here in Australia. I didn't buy them, but I loved them. I'm not a big fan of Sid Barrett, I'm afraid. It's just, a couple of tracks, that's enough. But bringing Dave Gilmour into the band made a massive, massive difference. And I'll get two things out of the way straight away. After I saw Pink Floyd live in Sydney in 1971, they were touring the Metal album with that long sidelong track Echoes on the second side. Now, I sort of liked it. It was the follow up to Atom Heart Mother. Um, I sort of really liked it. Side two, not side one of Metal is just atrocious rubbish. The opening track, One of These Days, I quite like. It's just an instrumental, sort of reminiscent a bit of the Nile song off the soundtrack album I had. Anyway, yeah, I saw them. Had an unpleasant experience. I was filming them from up in the bleachers with a 8mm movie camera, no sound, silent, and they sent these bouncers up to try and get confiscate the film off me. And so what I did is I quickly whipped out the movie, the film I'd taken, um, threw it to another long hair in the crowd, and they kept passing it amongst each other. So these what do you call it? Goons couldn't figure out what was going on. And when they finally got up to me, I just handed them a blank uh, cassette, film cassette, Super 8 film cassette. And they were so dumb, they just thought they sort of took it off me. And I said, here you go. And when they went back down with the blank cassette with nothing on it, then all the long hairs in the crowd threw it all back to me. In the end, I ended up with film of Pink Floyd with no sound. But the thing is, I was so angry about them that eventually I cut it out of my home movies and threw it away. I was so pissed off with them because I was a huge fan of the Floyd, and I realised right then and there that they were just money pigs, and that's why I can't stand the shit album of The Wall. Teacher, leave those kids alone, right? What a prick. God, I hate Roger Waters. What a piece of shit. What a miserable git. What a rotten control freak. What a money pig. Yes, and you're right, Brian, that track on Dark Side of the Moon, money. He's whinging about money. The filthy rich bloody prick. I hate that bastard. I really do. And the only, I'm a big fan of Richard Wright. He was the soul and the heart of Pink Floyd. You take Richard Wright out of those early albums, mate, you got nothing. You got no band at all. The whole sound and the soul of Pink Floyd that I loved was Richard Wright. He was the soul of the band, and they treated him like shit. Anyway, and another thing is I made the mistake of listening to Echoes up in the Blue Mountains west of Sydney. Um, Made the mistake of driving up there on white lightning acid, and when you go down this steep incline railway track, which is horrifying under normal circumstances, when you go down this thing, it's almost vertical. It's like another level of fear. You cannot believe. Um, and then when you get down there, it's exactly like Jurassic Park. You know, it's just like primeval, sort of huge trees that are billions of years old, and then that echoes that all that horrible guitar seagull noises. They sounded to me like dinosaurs and pterodactyls and things. And man, I had a lot of trips around that time, but that was about the only really bad trip I ever had. It was hellish. Anyway, so let's stop all that bullshit. Sorry, it's been 40 degrees out here Celsius for months, and now it's almost gone straight into winter out here. So yeah, all right, okay. Now the reason why I mention those albums is that I can't be bothered going out into the other room and getting on my original vinyls. This is a CD remaster of my favourite Pink Floyd album, Umagumma. This just blew our minds. I'll never forget getting this. It was up in my little local um, Gymea electrical goods store. They had a little rack with about half a dozen records in it. I can't remember what the others were, but when we saw this, I was there with my friends. I went, wow, that's a Pink Floyd. Look at that cover. You know, we were blown away by the artwork. Well, I was, and not really knowing anything except those few singles they put out, I took a punt on it. When I went home, when we went back to my bedroom and we played it, we just played it over and over and over and over again. This was so influential. Okay, then here I got two CD copies of this album. This is highly um, rated in my world. The sound music from the film More. Um, Cirrus Minor, the Nile song, crying song up the Khyber, green is the colour, Cymbeline, party sequence, main theme, Ibiza Bar, more blues, Quicksilver, a Spanish piece and dramatic theme. This is a great album, man. It's really along the same lines of Zamagama in a way. It's very experimental. Track two, the Nile song, is grunge. I mean, it's so heavy, it's unbelievable. You know, it's like Nirvana, 30 years before Nirvana. It is such a tough, strong. Wow, what a track. I love this album. I've also got Obscured by Clouds. The one drawback with this album is it's not that well recorded, whereas Obscured by Clouds, the follow up to Metal, is a pretty weak album song wise, but the production on it is absolutely excellent. It was recorded in Paris. And the one in between, and the other one, that's the first two Pink Floyd albums I bought. These are the CD copies. Um, this one just knocked my socks off. Adam Hart Mother, and that's right. I've also got here another soundtrack that Roger Waters did with Ron Geeson called The Body, and it's I've got it here somewhere on CD. I had that on vinyl too, but that's such an out there. It was such an out there record at the time. But when I played it again recently, it's quite mellow in a way. But the thing is, um, the soundtrack stuff that Waters did with Ron Geeson comes around the time that Ron Geeson contributed to this side one of Adam Hart Mother, which has got the awesome title track. This is a masterpiece of an album, in my opinion. Even the four tracks on the other side are excellent too, especially the last track, Alan's Psychedelic Breakfast. What more can I say? So, and then another fact is that years later, well, not years later, not long after I saw Pink Floyd and went through that unpleasant experience, we were going as a little group into town, into Sydney for some reason, and we're all sitting there, and about 6 or 8 of us, and this guy gets on, and it was one of the goons that came up and took the film off me. And he sort of knew something was wrong. I just went, hey, that's the guy that took the film off me. And he was shitting himself, he was thinking he was going to get beaten to a pulp. But, that's enough Pink Floyd for now. Bye now.